So having just watched the film, I can honestly say that yes, that moustache was well and truly worth it. Per Justice League. Hi, I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome to another episode of First Impressions. On today's episode, Tom Cruise lights the fuse and must face the fallout of his actions in the latest installment of the Mission Impossible franchise. The plot of this movie is that IMF agent Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, is forced to make a difficult choice during a mission in Berlin, which results in him and his team, including Ving Rhames' Luther Stickle and Simon Pegg's Benji Dunn, failing to obtain stolen plutonium, which ends up in the hands of a deadly terrorist organisation known as the Apostles, which is formed out of the remnants of the Syndicate, the main antagonists from Rogue Nation. Now it's up to Hunt and his team, along with CIA agent August Walker, played by Henry Cavill, to re-obtain the plutonium and prevent a major catastrophe that could threaten the world and everything that Hunt holds dear. It's been well over 20 years since Mission Impossible first came out, a revitalisation of the TV show of the same name. It was a big hit back in 1996, and it has since launched sequel after sequel after sequel after sequel. I'll probably do a full video detailing my thoughts on each movie somewhere down the line, but for the time being, I'll keep it brief. I really liked the first movie. I know a lot of people criticise it for its rather confusing plots, and I know a lot of hardcore fans are really pissed off how it portrayed certain characters from the show, but I still think it's a very enjoyable film, and I honestly think it gets better with repeat viewings. I think it's really stood the test of time very well. MI2, on the other hand, is kind of a mess. Not without its enjoyable moments, but it is definitely a mess. John Woo was just the wrong choice to direct that film, and his style of directing just felt very out of place and layered with melodrama. Not to mention, out of all the Mission Impossible films, I think the second one is easily dated the most. The film tries way too hard to make up for the relative lack of action in the first movie, and it just looks like they're trying to shamelessly copy The Matrix half the time. Fortunately, the series was able to get back on track with MI3. Not a perfect film by any means, I think its pacing can be a little bit too relentless, but overall it's still a very well directed, very well made movie. It has a good story, and the performances from Cruise and especially the late Philip Seymour Hoffman really do make it worth watching. However, the series didn't truly find its footing until the next installment, which really rejuvenated the franchise in a big way, building upon the groundwork that J.J. Abrams laid out in the third film, especially with the famous Burj Khalifa sequence. And while I do like Ghost Protocol a lot, I wouldn't exactly call it my personal favourite in the series. That would probably be the fifth film, Rogue Nation, which just brought all the best aspects from each of the films into a neat little package. With a very gripping plot, awe-inspiring stunts, and some great new characters, it's a really great addition to the franchise, and it was easily my favourite up until that point. And as a result, I was really excited to see what they were going to do next, because like I said, Rogue Nation was absolutely fantastic, and I was just wondering to myself, how the hell were they going to top that? And that leads us to the newest installment, Fallout. Christopher McQuarrie, who also helmed Rogue Nation, returns to the director's chair, which is interesting because it's the first time that a director has actually returned to helm another Mission Impossible movie. The franchise always has had this revolving door of directors. Brian De Palma for the first one, John Woo for the second, J.J. Abrams for the third, Brad Bird for the fourth. And throughout the history of this franchise, they've all brought their own sense of style and personality to each film, for better and for worse. So it was interesting to see McQuarrie returning for this film, because he does generally tend to have a good working relationship with Cruise, especially since they've worked together on stuff like Valkyrie, Jack Reacher, Edge of Tomorrow, and The Mummy. It's interesting to see him return, because although apparently he was asked to change up his directing style a little bit, it really does feel like a sequel to Rogue Nation in every sense of the words. It feels very connected to that film, and as much as I was doubtful that they could top Rogue Nation, somehow they've managed to do it. No joke. I think Mission Impossible Fallout might not just be my favourite film in the series, it might be one of my favourite action movies, period, and it's easily my favourite film to come out of this year. Now I'm seriously doubtful that they'll ever be able to top this film, because this movie is gonna be the one to beat. It's been a really long time since I've seen an action film that I've enjoyed this much. I don't think I've seen an action film this enjoyable since maybe Baby Driver? And I know I'm super late to the party on this one, as I usually am, but this movie was a feast for the eyes, the ears, and the minds. It's so good that I honestly don't know where the hell to actually start, but I guess I gotta start somewhere. I could spend much of this movie talking about how great the action is, and believe me, if you're just looking for great action, this movie will more than satisfy. This movie has some truly fantastic set pieces that might just rank as some of the best in the series, which, considering the quality of some of the other set pieces and stunts in this series, that is really saying something. There's a reason I tend to enjoy seeing Tom Cruise in action movies, primarily because of his commitment to the genre and making sure that the audience has a good time. He's very well known for really committing to the action in his films, and that's definitely on full display in this movie. And I think that's one of the reasons why the franchise has endured for so long, because even going back to the first movie, there's the famous vault scene where Cruise is suspended from a wire. It's one of those scenes that really set the bar for all the subsequent installments to try and reach. And by now, of course, he's climbed Burj Khalifa, he's hung out the side of a plane, he's done his own driving stunts, he's narrowly avoided getting hit by a car, and he's even had an actual fucking knife this close to his actual fucking eye. This close. I'm not joking. Tom Cruise, you're an absolute madman. Like, really fucking mad. And there's a damn good reason why he's often referred to as the American Jackie Chan or this century's Buster Keaton. And he often puts most action stars, even ones that are probably half his age, to absolute shame. And in this film, he's no slouch either. He really looks like he's fully committed to the action. There's one scene where Hunt's trying to climb into a helicopter and one scene where he actually has to do a halo jump. And this movie is some of the best aerial stunts I think I've ever seen. Period. And there's also some fantastic chase sequences, especially this big car chase in the middle of Paris, which rivals the motorbike chase in Rogue Nation and even the car chase in Jack Reacher and just how exhilarating it is. But easily my favourite set piece in the film is the bathroom fights. It's this very intense, very brutal and very fierce fight scene that would almost rival anything in The Raid or The Raid 2 for that matter. The choreography is just incredible, the staging of the scene is terrific, and for a movie that's rated 12A, it does get away with quite a bit here. The fighting definitely does not hold back, and it's great to see an action movie that doesn't feel the need to cut every 3 seconds. The action in this movie is absolutely spectacular, but of course, Cruise is not the only reason as to why it's so great. Great camera work, careful editing and tight choreography are all equally as crucial, but Cruise's commitment really adds to it, and I really want to be careful how I sound when I say this because I don't want to sound like I'm advocating that he go out of his way to kill himself, and I am a little worried that he might push himself one step a little too far one of these days. Nevertheless, there's still a real genuine thrill in watching him risk his life for our entertainment. Hell, if this movie was just a series of great action scenes with a serviceable plot and good characters, I still would have really enjoyed it. In fact, I still might have given it a very high rating because the film is just that entertaining. But I think what really elevates this film so highly for me is its plot and characters. McQuarrie's script really packs in a lot of twists and turns and intrigue all throughout to keep you on your toes. There's rarely a moment where you can tune out. It reminds me a lot of the first movie in that regard, and it also helps that it feels like there is genuine stakes here. It's not just the world that's in jeopardy, it's Hunt and his team and everyone he's ever cared about. You really feel the weight of the situation that Hunt and his team are thrust into. They are really put through the ringer in this film. There's a surprising amount of tension and suspense. There's a lot of scenes in this film where I was genuinely uneasy and nervous, because I did think that the characters were genuinely in trouble, and I did genuinely think that they were going to die. And when a movie manages to do that, it is doing something right. And as much as I love Cruise's commitment to the action movie genre, he never forgets in this film that he is first and foremost an actor, and a damn good one too. Cruise does tend to get criticised a lot for ostensibly playing variations on himself, especially when it comes to stuff like The Mummy where he's by far at his blandest. But throughout the Mission Impossible franchise, you really feel like he's genuinely playing a character that's changed and evolved throughout these films. I really like the character of Ethan Hunt, and in this film it feels like we really get a lot more personal with the character in a way that we haven't really seen since the third movie. He's very much pushed to the point of desperation as all the decisions he's made come back to haunt him in some way, and he's very much forced to confront and address his own belief system in a way that is actually quite interesting. Because Hunt was kind of an enigma in previous centuries, whereas in this film you actually do kind of get to see how he thinks and operates. You really feel like you're alongside Hunt every step of the way, and Cruise gives another excellent performance in the role. It's also great to see that the team dynamic from 4 and 5 is still largely intact in this film. That was always something that I really didn't like about the earlier films, especially in the second one where it just felt like the Tom Cruise show all throughout. But with the third movie they did take steps to try and rectify that, and then in the fourth movie it really felt like the team was on equal footing with Tom Cruise the entire time. Simon Pegg is still great in the role of Benji, the technician, whose role has gradually increased with each entry, and he's developed and evolved in the same way that Hunt has to a certain extent. He's not a character that just feels like cheap comic relief. And Ving Rhames is still fantastic as Luther Stickle, the only other character besides Hunt to appear in all 6 films. He's always been Hunt's main companion and friend throughout these films, and in this movie, there's some really intimate scenes with him that really do pack a surprising amount of emotional punch. And the film also brings back characters from previous entries, most notably Michelle Monaghan as Ethan's wife Julia, and Alec Baldwin as Hunley, the former CIA chief who's now working with the IMF. But it also brings back 2 of the best new characters from Rogue Nation as well. You got Sean Harris, who returns as Hunt's arch nemesis Solomon Lane, and he's almost like Hannibal Lecter in this film in the sense that even whenever he's locked up and in a straitjacket, he can still send shivers down your spine. He's this very intimidating and unnerving presence that really gets under Hunt's skin. He's still very much a threat as shown through the actions of his apostles. And the movie does a fantastic job building upon the relationship between Lane and Hunt that had already been laid out in Rogue Nation. He's very much the intellectual equal to Hunt. He's a very scary and unsettling character. And between his role in Rogue Nation and his role in this film, I think Lane has easily become the best villain in the entire Mission Impossible franchise. And you also got Rebecca Ferguson returning as Ilsa Faust, the MI6 undercover agent, who was another one of that movie's main highlights. In that film, she was very much this mysterious figure to the plot. You were never really sure whether she was on Hunt's side or on Lane's side, or she had her own agenda. She's very much like this third party for much of the movie. She helps Hunt here and there, but then there's a couple of moments where she'll be quite antagonistic towards Hunt and his team. You're not really sure what she's up to for much of the movie, and it's another aspect that just adds so much intrigue to everything that's going on. And Ferguson is still excellent in the role. She brings a lot of tenacity and charm and glamour to the role, and her scenes with Cruise are always a joy to watch. There's also a couple of new characters, including Vanessa Kirby's The White Widow and Angela Bassett's CIA boss, Erica Sloane, both of whom are welcome additions to the franchise. But easily the best new character introduced in this film is Henry Cavill as CIA agent August Walker, who's paired with Hunt to try and retrieve the plutonium, and the two make for fantastic foils for each other. They're very much polar opposites. Hunt's all about skill and strategy, whereas Walker is all about brute force. And that contrast between the two is very much embodied by their actions and their decisions throughout the movie. Hunt's somebody who can often get very emotionally or personally attached to a situation, whereas Walker's the complete opposite. He's very much just doing his job, and he doesn't ever let his personal feelings get in the way of his mission. And Cavill is absolutely fantastic in this film. It's easily one of his best performances. He brings a lot of charm and likability to the part, and he's another genuinely intriguing addition to this cocktail of awesomeness. Another thing I really love about this movie is McQuarrie's direction. I said earlier that Cruise did ask McQuarrie to change up his directing style in order to do this film, and it does feel somewhat different from how Rogue Nation looked and felt. That movie often had a very classical retro vibe to it, often like something out of a 60s spy film. But there is still quite a bit of McQuarrie's style present in this film. The way he directs a lot of the action, especially the fight scenes, definitely reminded me a lot of his work on Jack Reacher. It has the same level of brutality and viciousness. It's very suspenseful and there's a lot of tension throughout the movie, which is a given, but at several stages it can get extremely unrelenting. There's a lot of moments throughout this film where I was genuinely on the edge of my seat, or I just had to breathe a big sigh of relief because things just got so intense at points. Guys, this review is starting to run a little too long. I'm sorry it is, but I just love the hell out of this movie. It's a cinematic shot of adrenaline. It's a fantastic action movie with full throttle set pieces, a complex and intricate plot with twists and turns out the wazoo, great performances, a fantastic score, tight direction and writing courtesy of Christopher McQuarrie. There's just so much that this movie gets right, and my favourite part of doing this sort of thing is whenever I have to find out anything that's wrong and I can't really find anything I didn't really like about the movie. Like legit, there's not that many things I took issue with. I guess the only real issue I do have with the movie is, aside from one certain plot twist being very easy to spot, it can get a little bit confusing at times, but even then that's not a major issue. I think it's just one of those films where you do really need to pay attention. It's not a film that holds your hand, nor is it a film where you can easily tune out and not miss anything. You always have to keep focused on the movie. It's confusing, yeah, but it's not convoluted. I could probably talk about this movie all day if I had the chance, but since I am a little tight for time, I guess I'll just wrap up by saying your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to see this movie as soon as possible. And with that being said, I'm going to give Mission Impossible Fallout a very strong 9 out of 10. It's easily my favourite movie of the year, and it's probably one of my favourite action movies. It's not genuinely great. I suppose time will tell on that, but for the time being, I strongly recommend seeing it. I don't think we're going to get an action movie this good for the rest of the year, or maybe even the next couple of years. It's gonna be a long time before I think anything is even gonna come close to topping this film. In fact, after seeing this, I'm not even sure I want another Mission Impossible movie, because how the hell are they gonna top this? They've set the bar so high that it's literally gonna be an impossible mission to try and top this movie. But I have the funny feeling that just like Hunt does time and time again, they'll do the impossible. They will pull it off. We'll just have to wait and see though. So Mission Impossible Fallout, have you seen it yet? If so, what'd you think of it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What'd you like about it? What'd you not like about it? Let me know down in the comments below. Thank you once again for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like, leave a comment, maybe even subscribe to my channel while you're at it. That would be much appreciated. If there's anything I can do to improve my presentation, do let me know. I'm always happy to hear feedback as long as it's somewhat constructive. And if you want to follow me on social media or support me on Patreon, links below down in the description. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and this tape will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Goodbye.